Hi guys, welcome back to Stumpy Grump Scale Speed Shop and part 3 of how I build a mellow car, covering the paint and clear process. I'm not actually going to show any kind of painting or anything like that. I don't feel like I'm necessarily qualified to show you guys how to paint or do anything like that. So I'm just going to recover some of the things that I covered in my Createx gloss, how to get a gloss out of Createx, and my craft paint tutorial. I'm just going to kind of do a quick recap on some of that stuff. Also, this isn't really going to be a step-by-step kind of how I build a model cars. I initially wanted to. I'm kind of running into a bit of a brain fog on some of these things, and already I just kind of found myself not really grasping the gist, explaining step-by-step stuff here. My mind was trying to work around how I was going to do the video, and I was also trying to, my mind was also trying to grasp how I was going to do the painting process and everything, and they just weren't mixing together very well because my brain doesn't do that very well anymore now that I'm getting older. So I'm gonna do as much as I can, but it may not be as step-by-step as I originally intended. So hopefully it still helps a lot of you out there. I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm going to show you what I got done here over the last couple of days. Okay guys, so I'm going to start with how I mix the paints. I'm not going to actually mix it. I'm just going to walk you through it. If you want more in-depth, I do have a craft paint tutorial on my channel. So if you want to check that out, that'll give you an in-depth look at how I mix the paints. But you just shake them up really good. These are the craft paints, like I said before. Craft paints. Shake them up. They don't need to be shaken like for 5 minutes or anything like that. Just give them a quick shake. Little pop caps. And you just pour in what you want. I use these cups I got from Amazon. I'll put a link in the description. But I really like using these cups because this is what I use right here. Milliliters and cc's. Normally when I mix up paint to paint a body and stuff, I take it to about 7.5 cc's. I don't want to take it up any higher than that because you still have to mix it. So I go to the 7.5 with the paint, and then I take my homebrew thinner, which once again, how I mix my homebrew thinner is in my craft paint tutorial. Just a quick overview, you can see it. I use 3 parts distilled water, and then 1 part the isopropyl alcohol, 91%. And then I drop in, for a flow improver and all that stuff, I drop in 4 or 5 drops of glycerin. This is slippery stuff. I've said it before, really, really slippery. If you get it on your fingers, it's like oil, grease, you know. It really, really helps keep your airbrush tip dry, and it kind of offsets the alcohol a little bit. The alcohol is more for a little bit for cleaning, but it kind of offsets it a little bit, and it extends the drying time just a little bit because the alcohol actually speeds up the drying time. So this kind of offsets it a little bit, helps level it too. You only need about 4 or 5 drops for an 8-ounce batch of this stuff. I wouldn't use any more. So on to the mixing. I usually start 50-50 with this stuff. So if I take it to the 7.5 mark right there, I'll take the thinner up to 15 cc's here. And then you mix it up. I use a couple different things. I have my Badger airbrush mixer. Real quick and easy. Real, just Mix it up like that. And I also use coffee stirrers. Get a bag of 1,000 of these things for like $6 or $7. And I also, at the very least, cut them in half. I angle cut them too, for my mixing. You can get in there a little bit better, at least I think. So I angle cut them in half. You can cut them into thirds, whatever you want to do. But that's what I use to mix the paints. So for on the clear, we'll go to the clear for mixing. Basically the same thing. I use the Createx High Gloss Clear now. I use the same kind of cup. And for this, almost the same thing. I'll fill it to about the 7.5 cc mark, or, you know, whatever you're doing, 5 cc's, whatever. And I've been going to, since I got this new airbrush, it really sprays good. The Gaahleri GHAD-39. A lot better than the budget airbrush that I've been using. So I say I thin this probably 35 to 40%. 60 to 65% clear, and 30 to 35% of, or 35 to 40%, do your math right, 35 to 40% of the thinner. And I use my homebrew thinner as well for the Createx clear. I had been using the 4011 reducer, but with some experimenting, the homebrew thinner recipe works really good with this. So I save myself the cost. Normally I don't tell people not to use the brands together, but in this situation, this works just as good. So I'll save you a few bucks. So now we'll take it to the painting process. Like I said, this is my new Gaahleri Advanced GHAD-39 airbrush. The regular price on this is $49.99, or $45.99, excuse me, $45.99, $46.99, something like that. I can't remember. But once a month for about a week each time on Amazon, it goes on sale for $29.99. I do know that price, $29.99. This thing is a fantastic airbrush. Like I said, especially compared to the budget one I've been using, the Got Hobby one from Amazon I get for 17 bucks. That one served its purpose well, and I was really glad to have used it. But this is phenomenal for me. It's got your stopper here to adjust how much you can pull the trigger back, and it just is fantastic. Atomizes the paint well, really pushes it through. You get a 0.35 millimeter needle and a 0.5. I've just been using a 0.35, and it pushes the primer out, the paint out, and the clear out much better. So you just take your paint mixture. I run it through a strainer first. After I mix it all up, I run it through a strainer into another cup. Because with craft paints, water-based paints, there is a lot of, sometimes you just get dry paint. You just can't fight it with that kind of paint. So use a strainer first. Then just pour it into the cup. Set everything up the way you want it. And just airbrush. So that's how I did it. And I'll get to showing you the parts here. Okay, I'm not going to show you everything by color. I'm just going to show it to you by the part of the build, section of the build. This is all engine parts and stuff. These are the ones I painted in black. I airbrushed in black. Black Stynylrez primer is what I used on this. Battery, accessory belt, fan. You know, nothing really otherworldly to show there. This is the little front piece that goes in between the bumper and the front grille. This was painted with Folk Art Pearl White. Really, it's really snazzy color. Really like it. It really gives a nice pearl effect. I did the hood hinges. That color. Looks like the wiper motor. And then the valve covers in the air cleaner to play off the color scheme that I have with the blue. Okay, so there's those. And as you can see, this was straight Folk Art metallic midnight blue. Not mixed with anything, just the blue. So is the white, just those two colors, straight out of the bottle. Well, not straight out of the bottle, but mixed with my thinner. I just brushed on this aluminum, matte aluminum, metal acrylic colors by MIG. I just brushed it on, and then I brushed on some Createx matte clear for the transmission. For the engine and all these, you know, I used Createx satin clear. I didn't use gloss for the engine, just satin clear. Radiator surround. Again, the blue, and I use matte clear for that. I use satin clear for the firewall here. And then I sprayed Anita's galvanized tin on a couple of these parts. The steering linkage. Hoses in black, of course. Blue on the drive shaft. Haven't painted the oil filter yet. That'll just be regular plain blue. And for the exhaust, the headers here, I removed the chrome, I stripped the chrome off, and I painted it with Viejo Metal Color chrome. It's not chrome like your Alclad or your Molotow or anything like that. It's not too bad. Good for exhaust and stuff like that if you want to spiff up your headers. And then I did the fuel pump. Okay, next I'll go to the suspension type parts. Here we have the springs. Had to look ahead on the instructions to see what kind of springs I was going to use. You get a lot of springs. The disc brakes. Oh, my shocks were mixed in. There we go. This was Anita's galvanized tin that I sprayed these in. These springs are darker because I sprayed them over black primer, and these I sprayed just over neutral primer. Again, I used the Viejo Metal Chrome for the exhaust. The Folk Art body color, midnight blue on the shocks. Get off there. And the frame. Body color for the frame. And the engine cradle. Don't paint all that, you're not going to see it. Really like this color. Really liking this color. And the trailing arm. Did in the blue. The front A-arms I did in the pearl white. This is obviously going to be a show car. It's not going to be driven much. A little trailer queen, huh? The front suspension with the A-arms again. Upper A-arms, lower A-arms. All the suspension pieces were done in pearl white. rear end piece and the rear end itself, all in pearl white as a contrast to the blue, to go with the two-tone theme of the car. Okay, so now we get to the interior pieces in the Folk Art Midnight Blue. The dashboard, I did contrast a little bit with the glove box in the pearl white. And the gauge panel. All this has to be detail painted yet, but you get the gist. The door panels, same thing. I taped off. I painted them in white. Then I taped it off using my 10mm Tamiya tape. Just taped it off. Works real good. This stuff is awesome. So painted that in the pearl white, taped it off, and painted it in the midnight blue. Then I sprayed matte clear on the lower part of the door panel here. And then brush painted on. I actually used Pledge Future Floor Polish, Future Floor Shine. I just brushed it on the upper door panel here and caught the armrests, the upper armrests here with it. Once again, still have to detail paint the speakers and all this stuff, but this is just where I'm at now. Both door panels done the same way. Steering column, body color blue. Steering wheel, body color blue. Visors, once again body color blue, matte clear on it. And the seats, okay, the seats I painted in the pearl white, and then once again I used the Tamiya tape and taped off all around there. I used my X-Acto blade to carefully trim around that in there, and then sprayed on a couple of coats of the blue. These have been satin cleared, satin coated after I painted them. Same with the front seats, same exact way. Two-tone using Tamiya tape and satin cleared on the seats. Okay, the interior tub itself was a multi-step process. I used, once again, body color, midnight blue. Sprayed the inner fender wells here. Got a little bit of the interior. And then sprayed the package tray, the package shelf here. Speaker shelf, whatever it is. And then what I did was I mixed up for the embossing powder. This is in a different jar. I'll show a picture up here of what the bottle actually looks like, the jar looks like, that I got from Hobby Lobby. And I'll have a link to the website also. I put it in these, a little bit easier to control. It's like a spice bottle. A little bit easier to control when you're sprinkling in the interior, at least my opinion. I have the white and black. I used white. The stuff will last you forever. I've done 5 or 6 each of interiors each already on this, and I've hardly used any of it. What I do, I like to mix up, I use Mod Podge, and I mix up a little bit of my thinner. I just put it in, if I can get it here, right there, dropping everything, a little water bottle cap. just drop 4 or 5 drops in there. You don't need a lot. And the same thing with the thinner. Mix it up. Use a little toothpick for that. Just mix it up. You don't need a lot. And just use a brush and just brush it on liberally. Make sure it doesn't dry on. You can do half at a time, portion of it at a time, but just brush the stuff on. And then have the embossing powder handy and sprinkle it on. I put a piece of paper down so that any excess embossing powder I can just kind of fold up and slip right back into the jar. That's why it lasts so long. That's all you do. And then just push it down in some areas that need it. It's not perfect, but it looks pretty good. Most of it's going to be, you're not going to see the interior much anyways after it's built. But I know what I did. So I sprayed that with the body color also, and then I sprayed on some matte clear to dry it up, make it look like carpet. It was a little satiny, it was a little shiny for carpet. So that's how I do the embossing powder. Real easy process. Just mix up your, you can just use straight water too. You don't have to use this. I like to use it because I think it adds a little more adhesion. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I haven't tried it the other way. I just tried it that way. Works for me. And then sprinkle on the embossing powder. You get a coverage, all good. And then I just shake it. Just kind of do that. Shakes off the excess onto your little piece of paper here. And then you can fold it up and just pour it right back into the bottle, whatever's left over. So that's the interior tub. And how I do embossing powder. Not even enough of a process to do its own tutorial video. Okay, so now we come to the meat and potatoes of everything. Here is the body. So start with the hood. Pearl white on the hood. I started with Steiner Res White primer. Underneath, here's the tape. Did the underneath. And then I flipped it over and did the top. Probably 4 coats of the white. I just wanted it to cover really, really good. And it looks really nice. I like it. And probably 4 coats of the clear as well. I don't know if it'll reflect here. Let's use that. Reflecting. Can you see it? Yeah, it's reflecting really, really good. There you are. I have not wet sanded this yet. Probably Monday. Looking at Monday for that. I like to give it at least 3 days, sometimes 4, maybe 5, to really, really cure. But it's really smooth. The airbrush really, really makes a difference. Let me tell you. Really makes a difference. This is so smooth. And the rest of the body. So I sprayed, I showed you, I sprayed the grain primer on the whole body to look for any imperfections or anything like that that might need to be more sanded down a little bit. Then I taped it off using Tamiya tape and regular masking tape. Actually, I just used regular masking tape for this. I need to even break out the Tamiya tape for that over the primer. And then I sprayed on the white primer. And after the white primer, I sprayed on the pearl white. Like I said, 4 coats, possibly 5, but 4 or 5. Then I broke out the Tamiya tape like the next day or later even that day. I used the Tamiya tape. It did not pull this paint off at all. Even just not even giving it that much time. 6 hours. I was taping it off. And I sprayed the midnight blue on it. Then I carefully unmasked everything, nothing happened or anything like that. After that, if you can see, barely, once the chrome's on it, it'll stand out more. But I taped off the spear here, up and lower. And I then airbrushed on, for a little bit of contrast, Delta Ceram Coat, Navy Metallic. Let's get it so you can see it. Navy Metallic. Love this color. Did a 69 Cutlass that color. It's 442. Really looks good. But I sprayed that in the middle of the spear there. And that'll do the chrome trim around it, and hopefully that'll really help it stand out. But once again, this has been cleared. 4 coats of the Createx High Gloss Clear. Once again, we'll try to get some show you the reflection there. Really nice. Again, probably Monday on the wet sanding. Today is Friday. I cleared it yesterday. Thursday. I painted it Wednesday. So, pretty quick process with these craft paints. So that's where we sit right now. I got some detail painting to do. And some assemblies to do in the meantime. That'll be the next step, showing some detail painting and how I do some of that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. And I didn't just ramble on and bore everybody to death. Please feel free to check out my Createx tutorial. I do have a Createx tutorial. It's on the 4050 gloss, but it works pretty much the same as the high gloss. Same stuff, same deal. It's just a higher gloss. And my craft paint tutorial. I did the pen lines. I have a pen line tutorial too. Check that out too. Anyways, that's it. Thanks for watching Stumpy Grump Scale Speed Shop. I'll catch you next time.